Well, hello there, Retro PC Durham Chris here with another computer, this time a digital computer system. That's right, this wonderful clone case contains yet another computer that I have put together, refreshed, refurbished, whatever you want to call it, so that we can get her donated to charity. So taking a look here, a well-loved case. We've got some mismatched optical drives here. These are both DVD, a DVD-ROM and a DVD burner. Slightly different colors of stealth gray or black bezels. A multi-card reader here that I put into this system to replace the floppy disk drive that was in this case previously. We have our power and reset buttons. And then on the bottom here we have audio and USB ports, and then there was a door that should have been covering this, which was broken off when I received this case. We'll move around to the back and take a look at the port selection here. So we've got our power supply, and then we've got our system board here with PS2 parallel and serial ports. That'll give you a hint as to what we're working with on this system here. USB Ethernet audio, and then we do have a discrete graphics card. So this actually is going to be with a number of systems that I had been waiting for an AliExpress order, which contained some power adapters that would give me some GPU cable power, so I could start using some of the discrete graphics cards that I've received in donations that I wasn't able to put into computers, because generally I'd be working with a power supply and a system board, and I wouldn't have like GPU power cables, and that would be a problem. So in this case we solved that problem here with some clever adapting. Move this door out of the way here, and we'll take a look on the inside of what we are working with in this system. So we've got our pretty much no-name brand power supply, and then we have this Gigabyte G3 1M-ES2 system board. LGA 775 socket type for a processor. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. We'll find out when we boot it up, however. And then we've got a pair of memory chips in here. I think actually this might be one that I only actually have 2 gig of RAM installed in this system, and I think it was because it's using DDR2 memory. Yes. So this system board here, while being LGA 775, is an older board, obviously, and it only has DDR2 slots. So I've only got 2 gig of RAM installed in this system, and but that's okay. I've actually found Windows 10 will run okay as long as that memory is fully devoted towards running Windows, and that's where this guy comes into place. So we've got this an HD 4870 graphics card from ATI or AMD, whichever you want to call it, which we've cleaned up and have up and running in here. So a couple of problems that we had was, one, as I mentioned, I've got some power supplies that are still in really good working condition, but they don't have the right connectors on it. So I actually got one of these cables that's a 20 to 24 pin adapter. And then I've got cables here that adapt a pair of Molex connectors into a 6-pin power connector. And that allows me to be able to get all the power that I need on this system to get up and running. And then I think I think I might even have, no, I wouldn't. So what's interesting is, I think, if I remember correctly, this power supply actually did have some SATA power connectors, but it didn't have the 24-pin power. So that was kind of weird that it was one but not the other. But anyways, we got everything up and running here. So we've got 2 optical drives, we've got a hard disk drive, we've got a GPU, got a nice big fan here to keep things cool, and our LGA 775 chipset, which we're going to get up and running shortly. So let me get the door back on here. We'll get ourselves powered up, and we'll take a look at what is going on running Windows 10 from a performance perspective. Okay, we're all plugged in and lined up. Let me hit the power button and see what happens. There we go. Core 2 Duo 6300. So now we know what we're working with here on this processor. Now, if I remember correctly, I did I did do a little bit of an overclock on this processor. I think it's regularly like a 1.6 gigahertz. And I did increase the bus speed on it to get it into like 2.2 range. The maximum speed that I think I've seen online about overclocking this processor is somewhere around like 2.8 to 3.1 gigahertz. But because I just have the stock fan on that and the power supply is pretty basic, I didn't want to try to go overboard on that. That's where you see why I've got heavy load on the desktop, or you may not have seen it, but I do. You can see the folder here where I've got heavy load on the desktop. And I had that there because I was running heavy load to make sure that everything was going to run properly on the system. All right, I just wanted to adjust the resolution here. I believe the system that I had the screen that I had set up to go with this is a 1280 by 1024, like a 4:3 or 5:4 aspect ratio, as opposed to my bench screen that I have right now, which is a 16 by 10. That's 1920 by 1200. Just adjusting the resolution to be appropriate. So let's take a look here. I've got MSI Afterburner running here, and the reason why I loaded that on here was not actually to overclock this HD 4870, but to make sure that we put a fan curve in place on this system. And that is important to make sure that the processor doesn't, or the processor, that the GPU doesn't get too hot. So that's what's going on there. Okay, let's get hardware info running on here. Now, even though I only have that 2 gig of memory installed in this system, I did decide to run and install the 64-bit version of Windows on here. 32-bit would have been fine, but I wanted to make sure that if there was a chance to upgrade it in the future, that someone got, a pair of 2 gig sticks to put into this DDR2, or if I came across a pair of them before the system got donated, that I could easily just upgrade it to handle it. And also from a compatibility perspective, I just wanted to make sure that any applications that were installed were going to run as well as they possibly could. And here we have hardware info fully loaded here. Our Intel Core 2 Duo E6300 processor, which is 2 cores, but 2 threads, so no hyper-threading on this guy, of course. 1.8 gigahertz is our speed on this one. And then we've got our pair of optical drives and a 160 gig SATA drive. We only have, again, 2 gig of memory installed, and then we've got this HD 4870, which has a gig of memory on its own as well. So all in all, pretty decent system. Again, a little bit low on the memory side. However, there's room to add some more in the future to get that up to 4 gig if needed. 2 gig will work. And the last test that we'll do for that is to get our Microsoft Edge booted up here, and we'll go and check out how this thing handles running some HD YouTube. Alright, I got CrabRave set up here. We're going to try 1080p. I have a feeling it's going to be terrible, just based on the age of the system, but we'll see right now how it works. Fully queued up. We're dropping a few more frames than I think is okay. Yeah, and I can see this stuttering right now. This may not come through with, well, yeah, it is coming through. You saw where it had to stop there to rebuffer. So that is definitely not going to be able to handle 1080p streaming. Now, it maybe we'll be able to do it if it's downstreaming it to a lower resolution monitor. As I mentioned, the screen that's going to be getting paired with this is 1280 by 1024. I think it's 19-inch screen, so it's might be a little bit better at it, but we'll drop down to 720p here and see how this goes right now. I'm still getting a lot of frame drops here, right, where somewhere between 5 and 10% of frames are being dropped here, which is a lot higher than I think is good. So again, that could just be trying to go out to the bigger screen, but it also just might be the combination of the processor max frequency, the amount of memory that's available. Yeah, so let's drop down to 480p and see how that goes. So obviously at 480p we're going to be much lower quality, especially at a screen this large, but you know, all of our frame rate issues virtually disappear here. So that's 854 by 480 on this particular screen. So, you know, you're going to be a little bit low in terms of the performance here, but for, again, handling something like Google Classroom, you know, getting low resolution, a Zoom meeting going where maybe you only have just your teacher's camera up and you don't have all of your classmates' cameras up at the same time, shouldn't be too much of an issue. That should work okay. And as well, you know, having the crucial ballistics memory that's installed there that makes the computer look like it's catching on fire on the inside, I think makes up for any performance issues that you could possibly be having. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed checking out this computer with me. It's going to be getting donated very soon. As always, I really appreciate the time that you take out of your day to check out these videos and hopefully participate in the type of mission that I kind of put myself on here to provide access to technology for people who wouldn't otherwise have it. Hope you're staying safe and healthy, and we'll catch you in the next one.